Hi, Cari. Hi, Cheryl. Nice to see you. Chloe, my husband Chris is popping on for a few minutes as well. I mentioned him to you and
Hey,
vice
Chris.
versa. So Chris, meet Chloe. Can you hear us?
Chloe,
Hey,
Awesome.
how you doing? I used
good.
to
How are
put
you?
faces to names.
Yeah.
Well, thanks. Thanks for having me, y'all.
All right, awesome. So we're going to have a lot of people continue to join in. It looks like we have a ton of people watching live already, which I knew would happen. So if you are watching live in EXP Family Tree and you want to join the conversation live, go ahead and just get on my Zoom link as always for every Wednesday. We'll go ahead and put Chloe Millard's information below the live stream. It's going to remain live streamed in EXP Family Tree indefinitely, so you guys can tag your friends that need to see this call as well. It will be out on my YouTube channel within 24 hours. So I'm very excited to get started. One second, Chloe, because we got a couple more people joining in. This is called Realtor Time. Including, I'm a realtor, so I can say that the same way.
No, I can relate. I have Chloe time, so no worries,
Yeah, we call
y'all. I could always
exactly.
use a few minutes.
Oh, that's funny. Okay, awesome. I think we've got everybody in here, and we'll just keep adding people in as we go, and I'll do my best to mute them. I'll also watch the chat box, but if you want to keep an eye on it, if it's easy for you, Chloe, to do that as well. So those of you that are on live, please just chat in the chat box or raise your hand. This is super informal. We want to learn from Chloe and make it conversational. If you're in the live stream, you can go ahead and chat below the live stream and I'll watch it, and I'll make sure to relay those questions at the end here to Chloe as well. So I'm going to give a proper introduction. I'm super excited. I was introduced to Chloe by a business partner, a fellow EXP agent and leader, Jeremy Worley. Chloe, you were at Jeremy's event live in Branson recently, right?
Yeah, that's right. We love B-Town.
That's
It was so
right.
fun.
I remember that. So that was super cool. He said you did an amazing job. I knew a multitude of people that went to that particular in-person training and absolutely loved your presentation. So Chloe Millard is the founder of Boxed Lux Homes, and she is the visionary founder of this company, which is a luxury real estate development company based in Dallas, Texas. And they specialize in all new ground-up construction utilizing shipping containers. She's also the owner of a luxury marketing firm, which is called M4 Advertising, and that is the sole marketing provider for Boxed Lux Homes as well. She's originally from Chicago, so she's a Midwesterner like me, and she brings a diverse background to the real estate industry, combining her experience as a serial entrepreneur and a real estate investor with a solid foundation in corporate leadership. And so one of the things that I loved when I spoke to Chloe was her passion about helping people to invest in real estate using container homes, but doing it in a really unique way, because there's just so many different reasons I think that container homes are becoming, for a lack of better words, more popular. And that is, of course, just workforce timing, getting things built a lot faster, obviously affordability. There were some other things that she mentioned to me that kind of sparked interest based on where we live, where there's lots of fires, which was not necessarily being fireproof, but definitely more fire resistant. And I know in Texas where you are, more steady when it comes to winds and storms and things of that nature. And so not only from a climate perspective, and I think just being, a different way to build homes, it's also something that can be done faster and more affordably, which is why it may be very interesting, not only for real estate investors and builders, but of course, to find more home ownership opportunities and affordability across the country is something that I think all of us in real estate are realizing is certainly a need. And so I'm excited to have you just talk a little bit about Boxed Lux Homes, what you guys are doing. I know you also have some developments that you are looking for investor partners in, if I remember correctly. So please make sure you share about that, because we have 9,500 real estate agents and investors and business owners that are in this group. And so I'd love to be able to pay you back by making some great connections for the time that you're spending with us today. But before I let you take it away, I think one other really important thing to know about Chloe is she is a mom of three. She has a 6-year-old, a 5-year-old, and a 2-year-old, and of course, a cute little puppy as well. So she is a busy mom, a phenomenal entrepreneur, and I love the vision of Boxed Lux Homes. And when I got off the phone with her, I knew I wanted to share it with all of you. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and let you take it away, Chloe.
Cari, I don't know how to thank you enough for the sweetest, warmest introduction ever. Thank you for that. And everyone on the call, please forgive my temporary office today. To Cari's point, I know all the working parents out there can relate. If you have childcare fall through last minute, we just keep on moving. So thank you for bearing with me. And if at any point you can't hear my audio, please let me know and I'll repeat myself. But yes, I had the pleasure of meeting Cari recently through a mutual contact and friend of ours. Just to briefly start out, real quick about my background. Yes, Boxlux Homes is obviously a real estate development firm where we specialize in building the shipping containers. But I wanted to share a little bit more of how this concept I have came about is in working in the luxury marketing space. And Cari, I know you and I immediately like connected on this. You see a lot of trends that emerge in not only what's current in aesthetics trends, but honestly too from an investment perspective. So as a real estate investor myself, I dabbled in real estate investments back in Chicago. And at that point, I actually went out and got my own real estate license so I could manage them myself. So please, to everyone on the call, just know I have so much respect for everything that you do, because I know just enough about real estate agency to be dangerous. And I know that the work that you put into your client relationships is unparalleled, especially that of EXP agents. So I just wanted to throw that out there that I jumped at this opportunity to be here today. So thanks for having me. But the trends that we've really seen is when you guys hear the phrase shipping container or container home, I want to share with you today the vast difference of all the options that are out there. So, for example, when we talk about container homes in general now, we're seeing that, you know, our firm, we are one of the first to pioneer this industry and have essentially a new niche of new construction. And what I mean by that is, I'll get into this more in my presentation as well, but we have a shortage in this country of available homes for current home buyers. I know that doesn't shock anyone here on this call. However, for us to start tackling these growing issues in today's market, I think it's really important that we start looking at new alternatives and new things that we have available at our resources, just because we're obviously in an ever evolving, marketplace. So with that being said, I would love to kind of go in here briefly and share essentially what I do full time at this moment. I kind of pitch on this topic throughout the country, simply to raise funding for projects either we have or projects that our clients would have. So before I just start running away with it, can everyone see my screen right now? I'm clean of tabs, so I know I have about 50 open. Is this good? Okay, beautiful. So thank you. All right, so as I mentioned, for us at Boxlux Homes, a big, I don't want to say challenge or obstacle, but it's one of the number one things I'm tasked with doing is changing everyone's perception on what a container home is and really having to educate the market. So I wanted to take all y'all through the same pitch deck that I share when I am speaking on stages throughout the country. And I start with this slide because as very experienced agents, you know what we're facing today, but a lot of investors, they don't always know the specifics. So whenever I am pitching these concepts, I'm really trying to connect the two. So today I want to share with you guys not only what the trends are in container homes and how knowing this industry gives you a leg up with investors, but I also want to share with you feedback we get from investors, as in what they're looking for, what investments really spark their interest, and how an agent can be a huge asset to them to where you can win mega business over a competitor agent. So with that being said, these stats change daily, by the way. As you know, it's increasing that we currently have a surplus of qualified home buyers compared to the available homes available. So when we look at that, we think, okay, one of our options, if we have too many buyers and not enough inventory, is obviously new construction. So with that being said, you have developments that you can run. What we're seeing right now is a lot of the new developments that are going up, and I'm sure y'all have encountered it in your field as well. People are building smaller, they're cramming everybody in to fit as many homes on a piece of land as possible. And what we're seeing today is the cookie cutter starter home that is quote unquote affordable is no longer affordable. I mean, what should be $250,000, a $250,000 house, a 4-bed, 3-bath, that's affordable today. That affordability is around $375,000. So it's really pricing out the average consumer, especially with inflation rates rising. So when you think about that and you think about, okay, if one of our biggest problems to date in real estate is lack of inventory and then lack of affordable inventory, why is that? And a big reason is all of these challenges in new construction. And these are challenges in what we call stick build construction. So I just want to speak to anyone on the call that may be like me, where I had zero background in construction before I launched my firm. It was shocking to me to learn how much waste is in a traditional stick built home. And the way to describe it is whenever you drive by a job site, you see the framing process, right? And you see all the wood that's going up, and you can watch that process and sequence, and how over weeks and weeks time, more and more wood. What they do with the scrap, it's just waste. You can't repurpose all of those little pieces of wood. So they'll donate it, they'll scrap it, what have you. But what you see in framing that way, you have a lot of cost and waste concerns. Same with the land. Land that is undeveloped really causes an issue for new developers or even first-time home buyers that say, maybe we'll build our own house. You get into issues of zoning, permitting, maybe the land doesn't have any utilities on it, which is typically raw land. You don't get that. So there's obviously just a lot of hurdles, which is why a lot of these new developments they take longer to come to market. So you think, how can we address those issues? Well, one option would be with shipping containers. So why shipping containers? These are, a lot of them are the most, I would say, heavily sought after reasons for investors to invest in shipping containers. I also wanted to list like across the board, when you look at sustainability and portability, I want to be very clear here that container homes or shipping containers, as you've heard of it today, think of it as an umbrella term, because I'm going to show you how Box Lux Homes is very, very niche. Like, we go after an affluent demographic. We focus on affordable luxury. So bringing modern aesthetics and beautiful design elements to a container, utility, really. We do that on purpose to get the most engagement, to get the most investor eyeballs, because it's all about psychology and marketing. I hate to say it, but as people, our brains are very attracted to just flashy objects. And so this type of design being the new kid on the block, it's insane how much investors love it. And what they love about it is it can save them time and money, and we'll go into how. And it's also just flashy. The general public is more interested in these types of builds. So it's great all around for those investors that want to be part of a project that means something, and they also want their money to work for them and work for them quickly. So with all the benefits of shipping containers, you think, why isn't everyone building them? And this is a big reason why. So when I first started my company, I went knocking door after door after door to all of the lenders I could find. I've spoken to probably upwards of 200 different bankers, just known far more about financing than I ever cared to know. And what I found was, whenever you say the word container home, this is generally what 99% of the population thinks. And I want to tell you that now to save you so much time that I wish I saved myself, because as a marketer, I'm thinking, oh yeah, like container home, that is the whole object of what I'm doing. That's the whole point. So I'm going to tell everyone about it. No, this is what they see. So whenever you are speaking to an investor, client, or someone that you would like to target, and you say, hey, I got this brand new thing I can't wait to show you, and keep an open mind because it's a container home, but let me show you what it really is. It's not this, it's this. And often when I show people this slide, this is where their mind is blown, because they're like, that's just containers. And it truly is just containers. So to full disclosure, though, I always represent ourselves and our builds accurately. This is not one of our builds. A lot of what you see in the container space today, if you will, a lot of it's conceptual, and a lot of us are just trying to learn from each other. There's not a lot of container companies out there. And I'll be honest to say, the ones that dominate the market are very, very male driven, male focused. Like Cargo Home is a great example. I'm not knocking them. It's a phenomenal business model. That's not what we're doing here. We're focused on luxury. So if you do a little bit of research, you'll see if you have a client that is like the doomsday prepper, they love to have, something rugged out in the backyard. Like, we have a line for them. It's not my favorite line, but we have one. But we also have a lot of partners we'll work in tandem with to recommend it. But back to this home on your screen. So what I love about this home, first of all, it's sexy. Like I love modern design and architecture. That is a personal opinion, but it also is what's trending right now in the marketplace, especially for where this home is located. So this home is located in Austin, Texas. And if I could just share with you, the reason this home is included in our pitch deck is because this was one custom build, one designer, basically a one-hit wonder on a album, if you think of it that way. And this home got so much free publicity, attention. It was in the news, it's online, you can Google it. It was just one of the most talked about designs and builds simply because it was made out of containers. And so I just really, really love the quality of this craftsmanship. So the developer on this project, I believe, just did a beautiful job of incorporating just modern aesthetics that are beautiful, but also eco-friendly. So to kind of wrap all of that up, I wanted to make sure that y'all had the top 4 benefits for when speaking to your investors. So we've traveled literally coast to coast, all across the country, pitching about these builds, these designs, and universally in every market, these are the top 4 benefits that we see pull through for investors the most. The way that container homes not only save cost and time in construction, it's because of the way that we utilize the container. So the reason people think tiny home when they think container home, because pun intended, they literally are thinking in a box. When you think container home, you think, oh yeah, one container. How can you live in that? First of all, you can, but second of all, that's not what we produce. What we produce is any custom design that you can imagine, whether it be single family, residential, or commercial. I love doing contained cuisine. You can do restaurants, bars, coffee shops, all that stuff. But I would encourage everyone to get super creative when you think about this. Get out of your box. And that's what's going to set you apart as well. And this new competitive real estate landscape is if you start thinking out of the box and you think, okay, these are the problems investors are tasked with today. The fact that, as we all know, in the real estate market, that new law that was passed, it doesn't just affect real estate agents everywhere. It affects investors too, mainly because not only are they looking for real estate agents they can trust, they now are being inundated with calls where a lot of real estate agents that are not well versed in investments are just doing whatever they can to get business. So because y'all are in the network with Cari and you're friends with Cari, I want to make sure that I'm arming you to the best of my ability to go out and win that business and be competitive. So cost and time, the way these are saved in container homes is because in your first phase of construction, when we go back to that framing example and you're just putting up lumber for weeks to get the frame right, we can do that in 2 days by airlifting these containers in with cranes. And I want you to just make it simple. That's all you use the container for is the shell. That's our framing. We build around it. We do all types of exterior around it. It's never, or I shouldn't say never, it is rarely just a container. So any design, any rendering, any project, we really focus on what does our client want, or if it's one of our developments, it's what's the target for that area. So Austin is a big target for us right now, and the Austin market really loves eco-friendly, sustainability, modern, luxury. I mean, think about it. It's kind of a perfect storm when we merge California and Texas and a lot of these other environmentally conscious markets. It's just all about cutting through the noise to get the engagement of whatever your target is. So whether it be a home buyer or an investor, a lot of this presentation today, I'm trying to also wrap up some marketing tips for y'all just to be really cutting edge. So with cost and time, the fact that you're using the container as your frame, you're saving about 20% just in that initial phase of construction alone and just your cost. So we can save about 20% off the top because we don't have as much waste. We're not paying labor nearly as much because we don't really need labor to just put these in the ground. We obviously have crews for that, but it's much quicker. And we can essentially frame out a home in a weekend as opposed to a month, just depending on obviously the process. So that's how we save there. Now, I'm going to let you know a myth that is frequently asked. There's a question that's a lot of times throughout the country. People say, oh, I thought container homes were cheaper, but I looked into it and I found out it actually costs the same. And true, you can certainly find quotes that way. The fact that these homes are kind of newer to the market, the only builders that are out there doing them are going to have enough charge. But second of all, you really start to get into costs increasing the more you modify a container. So all of our designs purposefully are just the goal is to maintain the integrity of the full container itself because it saves us costs if we don't have to chop it up. Every time you fabricate, you cut a container element, you need to strengthen that cut and you also need to weld it to the other container you're attaching it to. So really think about it almost like Legos. We all played with Legos when we were kids, or I hope everyone did, had a little creative childhood. If you think about stacking those and building the towns you used to build and how high you could get something, it's the same thing with containers. So truly, when you're in kind of that entrepreneurial space where you're doing what you love and you're just kind of playing around with stuff, you kind of feel like a kid again because we're just building pictures, and it's also a little bit of almost like sketch artist work where we're trying to build a vision based on just conversation. So I wanted to give you guys an example here. And again, I pitch this example when I'm on stage across the country, and just wanted to let you know that we started doing our cost for these designs. We kind of came in at a flat fee. So full disclosure, I'll share this with you guys on the call just to give you an idea of like how this can be used to really scale big developments. But technically our all-in cost on this home is right around 300, 330. But when we're speaking to investors that want us to build these for nothing, I mean, I'm sure you guys know investors that you've worked with, they always ask, how close can you get this to zero? Or like, can you do $100 a square foot? And I'm like, oh, so I'll pay you for me to build this? Like it gets so low. So we just started doing a flat fee of $450. Now this home is a total of 6 containers. What you see there, this 3-story model is the most popular. People love it. It fits most building codes with height restrictions. So it's right up to the marker on building as high as you can, but still staying within code. And then you can do a lot of cool rooftop stuff on these. So we get requests for putting greens, jacuzzi tubs, the cute little twinkle lights where you have a fire pit. You can do all that on the roof. But full disclosure, my insurance guy hates it. He's like, oh my gosh, that's a nightmare, especially in like Hurricane Alley. Why would you do that in Houston? I was like, it's what the people want, man. We're just going to do it. And if they have to pay more for insurance, so be it. But that's another thing too, is just we want to offer a turnkey solution for our clients, which by the way, our target market, the clients we like to work with are investors. So building for investors, having STRs for investors. The reason being is because that's more of a partnership that we can fully support them on, because the luxury marketing firm that I own, we use that exclusively to power all of the branding and designs for these builds. Because think about having the opportunity to do a development of these container homes or a resort of these containers in a community where if you had access to PR and marketing, you would have a lot more pre-sales. You'd be able to get out in the market a lot quicker. And everyone knows that if you're developing something large and bringing something new to a town, you don't want to look like the villain. You want to look like the hero. So we always want to make sure that we are backing up our projects with all the right kind of goodwill on PR and any marketing campaign in the area. So that way we're educating, because our goal is to get these builds in every major market across the country. We believe everyone should have access to affordable housing, but affordable housing doesn't have to be poor quality. That's why we call it modern luxury. So again, back to this example, all-in cost of $450. This particular home, the pre-construction appraisal came back at $590, but we do have plenty of market comps in the area that show this home could sell at minimum $620. And the build time on this is again projected to only be about 12 weeks. Now, when we work with investors, what we do is we secure 12-month construction loans. We can work with them to get that from our lending partners. We have lending partners that will give construction loans on our projects. And then we also have takeout lenders that will give 30-year mortgages on any home that we build. Now, that is really, really key when you're talking to your clients, because if you get an investor that's interested in these, they're probably interested because they've already looked into it or they've heard of it or seen it before. And I'm just letting you guys know from experience, a lot of them that come to us, it's because they've already had a previous interest. But the reason they didn't execute on it before is more often than not the financing. They just can't figure out like, well, who's going to give a 30-year mortgage on this? Again, that's where I come in. I've spent about 8 months locking down the right financing partners for us across the US. And now that we have that, we kind of have every obstacle and every objection addressed before we even go to market in that area. So I just wanted to kind of throw out again to you guys little breadcrumbs of objections we hear from investors and what they're looking for. So as we kind of are flowing through these examples, you can kind of keep that top of mind. And again, this is just more about me when I am speaking on stages in front of these huge crowds of everyone's trying to figure out, well, why should we listen to you? So we always throw in a little bit of background slide for that. So again, my companies come about because I'm a serial entrepreneur where I see opportunities in markets and I build teams to kind of solve those problems. And so in doing so, some of my accolades are, I was one of those kids that was always so hungry for knowledge and just graduated college super fast because I was a little nerd, and definitely had fun though being a reality show cast member. It was not The Bachelor. No one's looking for a single mother of three. I'll be honest. It was a competition show for entrepreneurs, which was an amazing way to make connections with investors, contractors. Everything I do in my businesses is very intentional to offer full turnkey solutions. So we also love partnering with real estate agents to help us make that happen because more often than not, when we go into a market, we are there for the first time. We need to partner with local experts that really, really know that real estate. And that makes our investors feel more comfortable as well, knowing that we're partnering with the best local talent. We help put together a marketing campaign to ensure that these homes sell. And in doing so, we can strike up relationships with those agents where we're all about referrals. So anyone that is able to help us work a deal with an investor, we totally cut you in for that. So we have options to either do a brokerage fee, where as a real estate agent, if you were to broker a deal between our firm and your client that's an investor, we make sure that you are in the deal the entire process, and you are cut in as a referral. So that way you're getting paid on anything you bring to us. And I love knowledge sharing. So we're always happy to teach throughout the process as well. So as you are getting more well-versed in how container homes are kind of constructed from concept all the way to actualization, we can work closely with you on that, on how to find more investors that can maybe get in on some of these. So like Cari mentioned, we have opportunities where I have a huge network of investors that I work with that have their own developments going on, that they're looking for other investors to partner with. So we are just a big relationship community, and we're passionate about connecting our investors with really experienced real estate agents and vice versa. So when we have projects in those markets, just the example that Cari and I are now connected through a mutual contact, like I'm holding on to her dearly for when we break into her market, that I know she will be an amazing resource for us in terms of selling any of our clients' properties. So yeah, just to kind of talk about how all of that connects. But anyone that is on your phone right now, I know it's kind of hard to scan a media kit when you're on a phone, but I can put in our chat box the link to what this is. But I wanted to give you guys an example and for you to actually see all of these projects we have, and most of them are just examples. So we have more projects that aren't listed on there, but these media kits, what I do is I'll use my luxury marketing firm to build and tailor a branding kit, or what we really do is we just think of projects that we know would sell. We build a design, a brand around it, and develop media kits. So whenever I am speaking on stages and kind of traveling around the country, it's so quick at these networking things. You scan it, they have all the data, just so that way they can start to dream. Because everyone is an expert in their field and it's very specialized. We can kind of get into a box, right? Like the more we are just focused on our craft, I feel like the less and less we all have that creative kind of dreaming ability. So my job is to get them to think outside the box, see what we can do, and then get an idea on what those profit margins could look like for them. So anyone that is not on the call, or I'm sorry, anyone that is unable to scan this link, I will just text the link in the chat. And if you scroll all the way to the bottom of that link tree, you will find my digital business card that has all of my contact info. Please feel free to connect with me on Instagram. I don't know why that is the one that I will check the most. I am very, very bad, admittedly, at social media now, despite running an ad agency still. It's a necessary evil, but I'll go ahead and send that so everybody has it, and you can save my contact info from there. Always excited to connect. And then this is some other members on our team, and within our network as well, we are always looking for like the best contractors, the best referrals. I mean, even things like people that do Tesla charging stations, or that will do vertical build outs for retail. Like, for example, we, some of us are, like, one of our friends is someone who owns Sonesta hotels. And so we have a project for 8,000 acres where they want us to develop a town for them, essentially. And that's an example of how we can help out on that deal, where the client maybe doesn't have the money to develop this part of the land, but this retail, hotel owner really, really wants it. And so those types of things too, we can broker deals on jobs that we may not have. So yeah, all of that.
I love the idea of the commercial, the commercial strip mall investment opportunity is huge in a lot of markets, and to be able to do that more quickly, to build that out more quickly and more affordably. I mean, that's a huge opportunity for an investor to cash flow on, those properties that they're going to rent out or lease out to businesses. So I think that's huge because, I mean, you had a 12-week build time in one of those projects. That's crazy. I mean, for many people, it would be 12 months, to build up something like that, based on,
great point.
Yeah. So there was a question in the chat from Chris Cartier. Are there any states that you don't build in, or you wouldn't build in off the top of your head?
Oh, no, great question. So these homes, I probably should have touched on more that, geographically, you can build these in any market. I will say that the colder the market is, I mean, even from my hometown of Chicago, that wouldn't be my first choice to build. Just like if it's cold constantly, or if there's like really, really crazy elements. But at the same time, the fact that these tend to be far more durable than traditional stick build, it's still better than building with other types of materials. So again, long-winded answer to your question, no, there's no restriction. But again, there are just certain types of markets that add challenges is all. We just have more reinforcements.
Is there just really, this is getting granular, but I'm just curious, when you said that about cold elements, for an example, is it difficult for insulation, or is that different because you're using the container home for framing, and so it kind of creates a challenge there? Or why do you say that?
Well, I say that because of the steel. So you're absolutely right. Like, when you are building with a reputable developer, like, for example, anyone on my teams that I have, like, we vet our guys to no end. And we also have it to where every person on our project, we have the same mentality of, I will lose my own money before I ever lose someone else's money. So if someone's not doing the job well, we fire them, we get somebody new. But I say that because there are so many developers that would just take a container and throw it in the Chicago winter element and just be like, we're good. No, you have like special reinforcements and insulation you have to do, just because of the way the steel expands in freezing temperatures. Again, the huge fluctuation in temperature, it's not a deal breaker. It's just, we have a little extra precaution. So those jobs won't be as minimal in cost. It doesn't make it unaffordable. It just, is extra that we have to consider.
Yeah, that makes sense. Anybody have any questions? I know we had a couple people chat questions, but if you just want to raise your hand or unmute yourself, if you do have a quick question as we wrap up the call, I'm going to go ahead and look on the live stream and see if there's anything. Chris has one.
Hey, Chloe, you talked about the financing, and you built a team around that. Can you elaborate a little bit more about that? What are their challenges, and have you overcome them? And can a consumer do a traditional conventional loan?
Yes, great question. So the traditional conventional loan, absolutely. That was why we have what's called an MSA agreement with one of our lenders, and where he has stated that any home we build in any of the 50 states, they will lend a 30-year mortgage on. So having that kind of takeout from a takeout lender is huge for anyone lending on a construction loan, because they just want to see that they have an exit strategy in a construction that they have never done before. Building with steel isn't unheard of, but there are some lenders that, again, it can be the smallest detail that makes them finicky on if they want to lend or not. So the fact that we have takeout options makes us very, very attractive to where we're able to get that financing. But Chris, I apologize. The beginning of your question, I don't know if I heard you correctly. You were saying building a team around which project?
No, that answered it. It was just,
Lending. Mhm.
yeah, just your
Oh,
team.
lending. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah,
And then the
yeah.
other thing was appraisal. I just wanted to touch on that before we get to Cheryl, because that kind of goes along with lending. When you and I were talking, Chloe, you did mention you haven't had any issues so far, but of course, there's going to always be, we can't guarantee anything, but you haven't had any challenges with appraising. They are using stick builds to appraise as comps in appraisals, right?
Correct. And the reason being, I'm glad you bring that up, because that was another big thing of why people don't go the container home route, is because, again, when they say, I want to do a container home, a bank thinks that first slide I showed you, like the one crappy, like, oh no. And so where we really reinforce our vision is we back up our clients with the marketing of, no, look at the home brochure and flyers for this. This is not one of those container homes. This is what we're pre-selling. These are just the same as those because they're permanent steel structures. What that means is the fact that our firm builds these on the land versus in a factory or shipping it over. Like, that's why I was saying we will do everything on site. It is so we are in compliance with what banks look at as permanent real property and what they look at as not, like a depreciating asset, like a modular or prefabricated home. So yes, to your point, these appraise out as any other new construction because we prove that this is a permanent structure. It's not a flimsy rust bucket that's going to go away in 5 years. We build it with traditional stick build elements. So it appraises out just the same as any new construction in that market. So that's what's great. You compare square footage to square footage. So I'm like, if I can get the same value, but in a fraction of the time, less cost, I would do that all day, even if it was for the same cost, just to get it done faster. Your investors, they just want their money back to put it into a new project. So they'll take 10% ROI if it means that they can put it back into something 6 months later. We shoot for 15 to 20% ROI though. So if we have projects that we're seeking money for, we will do a debt raise where we will give 15 to 20% ROI. But we also have projects where I'm trying to shy away from doing this so much, but we'll do an equity split where we bring in partners on the deal and investors, and for them to fund the deal, we'll give them, let's say they fund all of it. It'll be maybe a 50-50 split where they get 50% of the equity post-construction, and so do we. So yeah, we just have lots of options, but it just depends on the goals of the project and everyone involved.
Yeah, that's awesome. Cheryl.
Hi, so I was thinking this was make me kind of brainstorm in my mind about where are people putting the homes? Are they picking out their own lots? Are they finding lots within like a builder who's already building and they get an empty lot there? Are they putting them on acreage? So where are you finding that people are wanting to build these on?
Yeah, great question. They, first of all, everywhere. So what you just described, that's actually something that we are open to and actively, that's kind of an initiative of ours right now. If you have builders that have communities that are already zoned, that they're putting up their own construction, we actually have demand to where we could come in as just kind of a third party contracted partner, to where if certain consumers in that development wanted a more eco-friendly home home or wanted something that was just more unique. That's what we're seeing a lot of buyers is they want something unique. We are happy to offer that, but I also want to be careful in how we represent our brand. We want to be careful in this first phase of our company. We don't want to be looked at as like a Lennar, or we're trying to come in and be a competitive home builder. And big reason being, I'm sure everyone on this call being a talented expert agent, I'm sure you can relate. A lot of times new home buyers aren't always the easiest clients to work with. So it can be a little finicky, and just the time dedicated to having that type of a business model. We're not saying we won't ever be that, but it's just that's not the low hanging fruit for us right now. Where we're seeing we can make the most change, the most impact is on these larger scale developments with investors. So that way we can help with affordable housing and what have you. So we don't have as many people coming to us saying, hey, I have land, can you build our dream home? We certainly do. We have plenty, but I'll tell you, those transactions have been taking longer for us than larger scale developments where we have a lot of interest, we have a lot of investors, and those aren't necessarily quick by any means, because there's a lot of moving pieces where myself as the shot caller, I bring the team together and I have to take a look at what everyone's talents are, what they can contribute, and realistically, if we can get the deal done that the client wants. Because these aren't just strangers, investors, people that we know. Like, this is my name and brand in the hands of very new close friends of mine. Like, these investors are everything in our network to, again, where I value their money ahead of my own. So we want to make sure that before we do anything, that the land is able to be buildable. And the things that we look at before we ever let a client go down the rabbit hole of buying their own land is we check the CCNRs to see if there are any building restrictions in terms of building with steel or anything of that nature. And typically, if it's not in an HOA development, the CCNRs are clean, and it's like, well, yeah, like now we'll do geotech testing next to make sure we can actually build on that soil. So we work with our clients to make sure that they're getting support throughout the process. And it does get to a certain point where we will require a retainer, because I'm telling you right now, the number one thing, if you have a great relationship with your client and they're an investor, and they start getting into the weeds on these container builds, what usually ends up happening is myself, I will get texts at like 10 o'clock at night asking our secret sauce build questions of, oh, hey, my client wants to know how the piers are particularly instructed. And I'm like, I know that your client's a general contractor and I can't share that information. So I'm letting you know, we get into the weeds sometimes with some of these guys that are very, very savvy, but still it's my mission to make sure that we're doing as much good as we can. And we don't need to collect a check for that, so we're happy to consult up into a certain point. And again, I know that was a very long answer to your great question, but I hope that helps clarify. You can put these anywhere, really.
Yeah, love it. Anyone else that's on the call, you guys? Speak now or forever hold your peace. Okay, I'm going to take a peek online. We still have a lot of them watching, but no questions or comments. Can you put the link in the chat, Chloe, so I can put that here below the live stream for our audience as well?
Absolutely. Thank you for reminding me. Let me grab that right now. Yes, so this link to our link tree will allow everyone to kind of view some of those high level media kits that I went over a little bit more, and just to get kind of an idea of how we market these. Also in the link, you'll see a category called new single units. For anyone who's maybe a little more well-versed, those are ADUs. So we've had, I just sent the link through. We've had a lot of requests and demand, especially from the men, I'll just say it, to have just single containers. That what I did was I coined, one's the bunker, like we talked about. One is the hunter's retreat. We have a lot of hunting interests, because when you're out on this remote, desolate land, there's a lot of demand to have like almost a little, report center where you can go in there, use the restroom. And also for a lot of these camping trips where it's husbands and wives, it's like, I wouldn't want the meat coming back into our cabin, like clean it out there. So it's just a great way to keep it separate, but all of that's in there, and I'm always available if anyone has any questions or what's next.
That is something actually, I didn't think about that, but we just had something in our market where a lot of properties are being approved to have ADUs. And so that is helping a little bit with the affordability of home ownership. If someone can have somebody live on their property and help cash flow so they can live in their home. So I think that using container homes for ADUs would be really, really interesting.
Oh, yeah.
Literally just in a Facebook group, I had an investor share, man, I don't know, Chris, if you saw this, but locally there was a statement put out that they were approving ADUs on many more properties in our county. And so what an affordable way and a much faster way to get an ADU on your property so you can start cash flowing more quickly. I think a container home could be fantastic.
Oh, absolutely. I'm really glad you say that because my design that I loved, I always feel like I'm creating things and I'm just like hoping people like my favorite the most. But it's usually like we like the bunker. But I invented one called the Lux. And what I love is that, to your point, Cari, this is a fully rentable 1-bedroom apartment that a lot of people where I am in Dallas, a lot of the women really crave like a great guest house or pool house for their backyard to either host as a
Family.
parent, like a live-in suite, exactly, family, or a nanny. Or what's really great is we also have one called the coworker, where now you can have just like an outside office. So instead of paying all of this money to rent out office space, which most people aren't using anyways, either having it on your own property or nearby, it's just a much more affordable kind of solution. So all of those lines that we offer, typically because we're pre-selling those, they start at about 130. And just so everyone knows, that Lux unit, it's a 1-bedroom apartment where it's 1 bed, 1 bath, full kitchen, like beautiful finishes where the client can choose. It's custom and it's 320 square feet. And that doesn't sound like a lot, but I promise you, when you're in it, it just feels like, oh, wow, like I could totally rent this out and make money. So you could do it on
Do you have a
Airbnb
picture
or
of that
long-term.
you can share really quick, Chloe? Chloe, is it available quickly on your screen?
Yeah,
While
so
you're
I
doing that,
have
we
what is
have
it?
these studio apartments throughout our area right now. So a bed, a bath, and a kitchen, but studio style. So very small square footage, and they're renting out at $1,100, $1,200 a month. And so if you can purchase something for under $200,000 and you can rent it for $1,000 a month, that is a very good return on your investment, I would say.
Oh, I completely agree. That's crazy. I know you do have to get obviously approval from the county you'd be operating your Airbnb out of, because that's
Right.
another thing. If people, want to do STRs, as everyone knows, you just need to make sure your HOA doesn't restrict it.
Yes.
I learned that the hard way, being my first investment when I was in Chicago.
Yes.
I was like, this is great. We had Airbnb all year and then got fined immediately. They did not like that.
And
So
for a
right.
lot of these, you can do, like you said, you could do a long-term rental, especially if you're trying to just do an ADU on your property to help you cash flow. That's quite common
Oh,
here.
yeah.
Mhm.
Absolutely. So I just found, let me share my PDF here.
And then we'll
Again,
wrap it
who
up,
has
but I think this
that?
would be cool for you guys to see. But investors are really interested in ADU or properties that have the ability for multiple income streams on properties. So that's just something to keep in mind when you're working with investors as well.
Absolutely. I hope you are just looking at this one sheet and not all of our
We
faces
are.
double time. Okay,
Yeah.
great. Great. I couldn't tell. So this is just for everyone on the call, FYI, my firm, we created this in about 2 hours because it was for an event that we were approached last minute and said, hey, what would be really cool is if you had a line of ADUs that you could speak on. I was like, well, we have a line. It's still conceptual. It's in pre-sale mode. And they're like, oh yeah, can you show anything? So right away, we have like a great design team and I'm not too bad with graphics. So I was able to throw this together right before I went on stage. And this particular unit, because it is Lux and Mod, and you could do a double stack if you want, we do have this going at 140. Those are just different options for layout and how it could look on the outside. And then we have it now to where this is for a network we were speaking at, but we can offer this price to any agents on this call as well. This pre-sale offer of 99K, we offer to affiliate partners and anyone who brokers for us. So even though it's 140, you can definitely let your investors know that you get a savings for using you instead.
Awesome. I will have this recording out on my YouTube channel, you guys. Of course, it's going to stay here in EXP Family Tree. If you have investors, I think, you know, going through some of this presentation with them and showing them some of the opportunities as a benefit of working with you is a great idea. If anybody is working with developers, builders, and they're curious, Chloe has all of her information in the link that she provided. I went ahead and put it in the work chat as well, or the link below the workplace live stream. And she has it here in the chat. So grab it before you end the call. Chloe, thank you for spending time with us today. Really appreciate you.
Oh, thanks, y'all. It was so great to see everyone. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Have a great day, everyone. See you soon.
Okay, thanks. Bye, y'all.